Kuzangpo and welcome to our weekly news magazine program Bhutan This Week with me, Dorjama. Our top stories this week. Thousands celebrated the 60th birth anniversary of His Majesty the Fourth Druk Gyalpo. His Majesty the King announced that His Majesty the King and Khetsin Jisinpema are expecting a prince. The central monastic body arrived in Punakha for their winter residence after walking for 3 days. History has been unfolded as 11th November will go down as an exceptional and jubilant day where the nation celebrated the unparalleled legacy of His Majesty the Fourth Druk Gyalpo. As the whole nation joined hands to celebrate His Majesty's 60th birth anniversary, thousands of people gathered at the Changlimathang Stadium to celebrate the day. His Majesty the Fourth Druk Gyalpo was born on this day in 1955 at the Deshin Trading Palace in Thimphu.
The bright morning with luminous sunshine and a clear blue sky had the Changlimathang Stadium filled with people adorning colorful dresses and in festive mood. It was an auspicious and joyous occasion for them as they witnessed His Majesty the Fourth Druk Gyalpo being ushered to the Changlimathang Stadium in traditional chipdel ceremony. The sacred occasion was made even more special with presence of His Majesty the King, accompanied by Her Majesty the Khetsin. Their Majesties, the Queen Mothers, and members of the royal family were also present at the celebration. The momentous occasion saw His Majesty the King, along with the people gathered at the stadium, offering Shabtin to His Majesty the Fourth Druk Gyalpo for His Majesty's eternal well-being and long life. As part of the celebration, people from all walks of life, even from the Dzongkhas as far as Tashkang and Samdup Dzongkhar, presented cultural and entertainment programs. His Majesty the King and His Majesty the Fourth Druk Gyalpo also took the time to meet with the people assembled at the crown and interacted with them.
The same guy is in Villa, the Hacher Dugi Bacho, the Kusi Japitin, the Juju say Gemelam musician. The Lesungachere, the Mion Dugi Bacho, the Kusi Nindanam, Zevatina Tashin gave the Juju, say Melam David Takis in the way.
Chuti Gile, the Gouve, the Jeti Jumba Jebachino, Tafina Gouve, Kadichira John Tagging, the Minamion Mother Bochicora, the Kunwe Jesuachin Jebe.
Nga Fourth King Gevajina, Tajichamatoni, and Nam Sim Guy. Fourth King di Rambe, the Jews Melam Tamni.
The celebration at the Changlimathang, which will be long remembered by the people of all ages, concluded with Tashileve. Chetan Dupchu, PBS News.
Bhutanese in the country and across the world was treated to exciting news when His Majesty the King announced that Khetsin Jisinpema was expecting a prince. Packed to its full capacity, Changlimathang Stadium in Thimphu burst into huge applause when His Majesty the King shared the news.
Da dugi yabje tambagi chunga tuchigalo ngarakatule dari kokab zungdibe beshimda ngajera miselu nesuchi labniyul. Da kadeve lab tagamon. Kale Josu chibe ngalabdege jitsin alukini yirsa. Da jitsin da ngarakatule rugishibalu 다 중국 뒤지기 장제 좀 집에 찾아고라. 네. 마버 지진다 말에 남에서 셈거이
His Majesty the King in his speech to the nation said today was an extraordinary day and that he was happy to see many Bhutanese celebrate the day in the country and around the world. His Majesty the King reminded the people of the services rendered to the nation by His Majesty the Fourth Druk Gyalpo. He said His Majesty the Fourth Druk Gyalpo has always stressed on the rule of law and its significance to the nation.
도도준직이 바나 잡기 꾸세지 잘아가지라 제로 아따라 팀기 린루 세 데베 송나멜 데제벨라바진 단팀 마도바진 미치기 기도이멜 개갑날로 팀루 야미 참미 잡조메바지 개갑지기 기도 셀랍도 좀베 두게시바기 나라기 제일 안베 송나멜 개갑날로 팀디 가체스 개갑날로 팀디 레짐도 딘디 요바진 밀루 디요바진 개갑날로 시데옹 시데 요바진 남라 베루 지지루 로테수.
While ending the speech, His Majesty the King said the prince is a gift to his father, His Majesty the Fourth Druk Gyalpo, and to the people. Nirub Gyaltsen for BBS News.
The news of a prince has filled the hearts of people with immense happiness. We talked to some of them in the capital about the news and their sentiments.
자기 박디디 있으시니베일라 데네서 안지 곰나나메 셈셈가이 있으시니베일라
제송시로 나미나루데 조바라데 가자기 세지 춘이세 순이디 같이 미스 차제 가들레 가데디치 겨와다 데베데 셈가이 있으시니베일라
사이드 퉁미 짜다니 사이드 퉁이 딕빌라니 숭초라 니 장부 쇼낭펴라
데타 제르남토 가네 미베기 데타 가처럼 개베기 세 춘이기 로치 남쪽으로 고도로 같이 두개 합되는 겨와서 놓으세 남이 섬이 남이 셈가 있으시니라
지금기 내실지 남 통과세 노디게베 데베 데데비 데다리베들로 아니 숨달로 남이 섬이 나날레라 셈 딘레라 남이 섬이 셈 가토 bombe juinse shunila.
His Holiness the J. Khenpo celebrated the 60th birth anniversary of His Majesty the Fourth Druk Gyalpo with the people of Tsenkar Gyok in Hlinse. The celebrations took place at Namdruling Monastery.
The program began with the recitation of Shabda for His Majesty the Fourth Druk Gyalpo's long life. Then His Holiness the J. Khenpo presided over the Tsepame Sungchir organized for His Majesty the Fourth Druk Gyalpo's well-being. Hundreds of people from Tsenkar Gyok, including business community from Autso town, students and teachers of Autso Middle Secondary School took part in the celebration. Following the Tsepame Sungchir, monks from Namdruling Monastery exhibited their intellectual debate to mark the day. The students of Autso Middle Secondary School and monks of Namdruling Monastery wished His Majesty the Fourth Druk Gyalpo a happy birthday. After that, various cultural and entertainment programs were organized to celebrate the day. Also, to mark the day, sacred relics from the monastery were displayed for the public veneration. His Holiness the J. Khenpo hosted a tokha for hundreds of people who came to celebrate the historic 60th birth anniversary of His Majesty the Fourth Druk Gyalpo. Compiled for Pimanamge and Hlinse, Sonamugen, BBS News.
The central monastic body led by Doji Lebe arrived at Puna Dewi Chimbe Podra in Punakha on Thursday afternoon for their winter residence. This year, the monks walked the entire journey from Thimphu on Tuesday. Thousands of devotees received blessings along the way. The monk body will spend 6 months in Punakha. The initiative is to commemorate the 60th birth anniversary of His Majesty the Fourth Druk Gyalpo. It is also to pay tribute to Shabdung's arrival in Bhutan 400 years ago. This tradition of maintaining a summer and winter residence was introduced by Shabdung Ngawang Namgyal in the 17th century. His Royal Highness Kesab Jimidoji Wangchuk graced the inauguration of the new arrival terminal building at Paro International Airport on Monday. The event is to commemorate the 60th birth anniversary of His Majesty the Fourth Duke Gyalpo. After consecrating the new building, Shabtin was offered to His Majesty the King and His Majesty the Fourth Duke Gyalpo. The new arrival terminal building is expected to ease the congestion at the current terminal building, which is used as both arrival and departure terminals. The new structure is constructed at the cost of over 340 million Ngitam with support from the Government of India. One of the sacred lhakas in the country, the Kenchisum Lhaka in Bumthang, was consecrated on Thursday after it was reconstructed following a fire disaster in 2010. It was built during the 9th century by King Tisong Ditsen under the command of Guru Rinpoche.
Her Royal Highness Ajidiki Yanzmoch graced the consecration ceremony presided over by Ganta Tuku and Surituku. It was also attended by other Tukus and Rinpoches. The new monastery is bigger than the previous one. Surrounded by new walls, the original Lhaga stays intact at the center. The three main statues of the Lhaga will be kept inside the old monastery. Upon the command of His Majesty the King, the reconstruction of the Lhaga began in 2012. Kusuntugi Mende was offered by Suntu Rinpoche, who is the abbot of the Kunchusum Lhaga.
Lhagadi mebachinla. Lhagadi ngachi gyakhabki dönlebe Guru Rinpochegi den sachaknana begi gyakhabki shidegi dönlebe sonana be Lhaga be wala tendegi dia nebe shadabachin gyakhabki shidulu neongosela. Techir nagi usin sumluye teta gyakha yudinalu losho lenida nerim mugi disu michuni gi dönle neo ani benedegi te chani tende so gobegi kaja anebe nandegi be losumgi nandulu te chani tendegi be zo.
The Lhaga was constructed at a cost of over 100 million Ngitam by Suntu Rinpoche, including contributions from devotees. The government also gave 11 million Ngitam. 75% of the work is complete. For Komal Kharga in Pumta, Sonam Mugen, BBS News.
Sergithang Chirangte MP Novin Dalami asked what the Ministry of Information and Communications is doing to support and assist the print media houses, with many closing down the shops. Today, most of the media houses, especially private print media, are struggling due to financial problems.
Novin Dalami said, since media plays a crucial role in a democratic setup, but most of the media houses are faced with severe problem of sustainability. He asked what the government is providing to the print media house. Responding to the question, the Information and Communications Minister D.N. Dungyal said the ministry has submitted advertisement guidelines to the cabinet for review. Lempo said the advertisement guideline will help the print media to sustain and said the ministry is giving trainings to the employees of the print media every year.
Dajulu Nyapar, Koigi Chachi Dichu, Logrik computer, Dida Chigalu Patin the Patin Giticha, Dele Pachichu, Te Mapobe, Nadin Bechobe debe, Nawa Nadi Jejuni, the media houses lo, Yuntengi Tole La Benigi Denlo, Chabzor Benigi Denlo, Bebe Jejuni, Jungi Katole, Jenyang, Neden. Content development chalabe neden gonfelgi denlo lerim disu nalu lerim jonigi denlo mangilgi jabjorya dinalu di thekarbe debe bjindigi yejuni di lerim jandagi denlo chamji chirtanglo bjindigi me jejuni.
There are around 11 print media in the country, including Kunsal. Compiled for Sonam Tsering, Namgye Wangchu, PBS News.
Residents of Kuruthang town in Punakha have been facing an acute drinking water shortage for almost a month now. Residents claim that concerned authority is not taking the matter seriously.
Taps are bone dry. Locals fetch and store water in whatever they can. Some of the hoteliers drive almost 3 kilometers to Ola Drupchu to fetch water, while some go to the automobile workshop.
It is very difficult to run a hotel without water. We try to store as much as we can for customer because we need it for everything, not just for preparing meals.
If it is for personal use, then we are able to manage. But in the hotel, it is difficult. We need water for dishwashing, and especially bathroom has become a problem.
Sometimes we fetch water from Damchin workshop. Initially, we used to get some water, but these days taps are completely dry. It's been almost a month without a water now.
The municipal office is aware of the problem and said they supplied water from their tanks, but it was not enough.
We found that the pipe at the source was broken last month, but it took very long to detect the problem. It looks like the pipe was damaged by a bulldozer, but now it has been fixed.
But it might take a little time for water to reach the town since the source is far away from the settlement. Compiled for Chuni Demo in Pinaka, Sonam Hamo for BBS News.
Of the 683 women respondents in Nganglam in Pemagasil, 385 of them believe there are women who go across the border for illegal abortion. It was revealed in the Bhutan Health Journal 2015, launched in the capital last Friday. The study was conducted in 2013.
The journal says about 58% of respondents knew women who traveled across the border for abortion. The respondents also said there are those who used other methods such as traditional medicine to abort. Hospitals in Bhutan also see many cases of post-abortion complications such as septic abortion and incomplete evacuation of fetal parts. Nganglam Basic Health Unit's chief nurse Jimmy Chuden, who did the study, said an unplanned pregnancy is the main reason for abortion across the border. The other reasons, she said, include financial problem and unfaithful partners, among others. Bhutan allows abortion only when a mother's life is at risk, incest, rape and fatal deformity. Dikilhamu, BBS News.
Bhutan contributes $15.5 billion worth of environmental services every year to other countries. This is as per the Ecosystem Services Journal 2013 published in Australia. The research was conducted by an Australian professor and his team. This makes Bhutan one of the highest donor countries in terms of ecosystem services in the world. And thanks to His Majesty the Photru Gelpo for the concept of gross national happiness and sustainable development policy, without which this would not have been possible. And now Bhutan is considered a negative carbon emitter.
More than Bhutan, the balanced ecosystem and biodiversity services here benefits the countries outside Bhutan. According to the journal, it helps around 1/3 of the world's population. For example, glaciers in Bhutan are a major source for Brahmaputra River in Assam. The journal states that if Bhutan does not protect its glacier lakes, the entire Brahmaputra would be flooded, claiming millions of lives and destroying huge settlements in eastern parts of India. Bhutan is also home to many endangered species. Bhutan observes rising greenhouse gases, particularly carbon dioxide emitted due to human activity in the region, and releases fresh oxygen benefiting the region.
This should be a proud moment for Bhutan, and actually when we dedicate to the 68th birth anniversary of His Majesty the King, this I feel is the biggest achievement from Bhutan's side, because now we are able to convince people that material wealth is not very important coming to the well-being wealth that we have always emphasized over the time. Phrase, we can probably comfortably say or claim that we are actually donating to the international community the ecosystem services that we have. In this sense, maybe we can be called as a donor country.
During a seminar on sustainable development goals and conservation at the Ugenwangchu Institute for Conservation and Environment in Pumthang, the chairman of the World Wildlife Fund in Finland said Bhutan must be loud in expressing their views and experience on its conservation policies. Compiled for Komal Kharga in Bumta, Sunam Ugen, PBS News.
Cultures being eroded with extreme modernization and increased per capita income with unhappy citizens would have been nothing but a biting problem for Bhutan today, had His Majesty the Fourth Drukgyalpo not foreseen these problems. These were His Majesty the Fourth Drukgyalpo's concerns raised 28 years ago during an exclusive interview with a foreign correspondent in 1987.
John Elliott was one of the few foreign journalists who interviewed His Majesty the Fourth Drukgyalpo in Thimphu in April 1987. As we met him at the GNH conference in Paro a few days ago, John clearly remembered and spoke fondly of His Majesty the Fourth King. John says His Majesty the Fourth Drukgyalpo was only 32 at the time of the interview and was speaking prudently of social harmony, political stability, corruption, and most importantly, on contentment and happiness.
We discussed things, or he discussed things for more than an hour, maybe an hour and a half. I'm talking about his worries and ideas and the things that needed to be achieved in Bhutan as it gradually opened up. He was clearly worried about some of the developments on corruption and the loss of culture and the other things which he felt had not been handled as well as they should have been.
John says Bhutan is fortunate to have escaped the negative impacts of modernization under the wise leadership of His Majesty the Fourth Drukgyalpo.
Well, you're still struggling with it. He was, if I may say so, His Majesty was struggling with it in 1987, struggling as to how to adapt to it. And all the things that he said apply now. All the issues that he raised with me are issues which are very important now and even more important.
Although retired, John takes every opportunity to speak of the memorable interview and his article published in the Financial Times in London in May 1987. Tiki Chorandoji, PBS News.
Well, that's all we have for you in this week's edition of Bhutan This Week. Do join us again next week as we bring to you another edition of Bhutan This Week. Thank you for watching.